Today's video is going to be a shorter one. It's about the Bobcat. How to adjust the tracks on your Bobcat T200. It's not difficult. I'll show you how I do it, and then I've got the book. I'll show you how Bobcat wants you to do it. But it's pretty simple. Basically, you come in here, you take this rear plate off, and as you see in there, there are a couple of fittings. There is a grease fitting for adding tension, and then there is a bleeder fitting for removing tension. So the tensioner on this is just a great big grease cylinder. And you just take the grease gun and you hook it up and you start giving it grease until the track is where you want it. And to take tension off, you open this bleeder and it'll let pressure off. But if you really want to get all the pressure and strain off the track, you have to like get in with bars and stuff. And I'll show you that in a minute because I've got the actual service manual for this. You're not supposed to adjust tension on the track when it's on the ground. You're supposed to jack it up and measure sag and all this other stuff. But if you look at these tracks, they're not in great shape. I don't know how much longer they're going to run, but they were running so loose that I was afraid it was going to throw it off. So I put 10 strokes in here. Okay. And it's pretty solid. The other side, though, I haven't done. And both sides were pretty much the same. So I haven't done this side, so we come in the same spot. That's the same amount of force. It's really, really bouncy. So I'll pull that plate off and I'll see if I can tighten this up. And just 10 strokes is where I'm starting. If we need to tension it up some more, we can. But, you know, like I said, this thing, these tracks are struggling. They were like this when we got it. I can't see any steel down in there yet, steel cord, but they are struggling. And we're going to replace them at some point. But tracks are not cheap, so we're not doing it right now. But that's how you adjust the tension on them if you need to. So the book, I don't remember where I got the service manual. I'm going to be honest with you. If I can find out, if I remember where I got it, I'll put a link to it down below and you can go buy it. Because, yeah. All right, so I printed this off a while back because I was looking at adjusting the track. So what you're supposed to do is jack up the machine so that the track sags, and you're supposed to measure right here in one of these middle idlers on both sides. You're supposed to put like a 1/2 inch or a 5/8 bolt in to measure between the flat on the roller and the part of the track where the roller contacts. It's supposed to be anywhere from 1/2 to 5/8 of an inch, and you adjust or, you know, you increase or relieve tension as necessary. So for getting the tracks off and letting tension off, they say you're supposed to have this special tool that is a Mel 1560 bleed tool. I assume the Mel stands for Melro, but when you, I don't know if you can still get these tools or not, or if it's even something they would sell to consumers. It looks to me like you could just put a socket on there and just make a mess because it's grease, but that's just me. Yeah, do not loosen the adjustment fitting while there is tension on the tracks. This might be a special tool. Actually, you're supposed to just snap on and it does the thing. I don't remember. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, you're supposed to lift and block the loader. Then if I get the page here to turn for me. Removing the track. You got to have this thing and come in here and remove. That's the wrong page. Hang on. Okay, so what they want you to do if you're looking to take the track off, you block the skid steer loader, and I don't know how high you actually have to go. They say at least 3 inches off the ground. I couldn't tell you, or at least so the track is 3 inches off the ground. And then you're supposed to get the bleeder fitting all loosened up, and be careful because it's under pressure and all this other stuff. Then take a pry bar and shove the idler backwards, and then pry the track off. It's not hard to do. It's actually a pretty easy system to adjust. It's just, that's what the book says you're supposed to do. So for tensioning, yeah, no, you're not supposed to leave it on the ground, but who cares? You clicked on this video because you want to know how to adjust your tracks, not because you want to know how to do it correctly. I mean, look, you clicked on the wrong channel if you want to know how to do stuff correctly. And then this is just more about how they want you to remove the tracks. I mean, the tracks are fairly heavy. You know, they are rubber and steel. They're not light. They look like it, you know, but they're not. So then they go, there's a section here I went ahead and printed off about wear and, you know, identifying wear and seeing what you can do to prevent it. You know, if where is it? Seeing about, oh, there it is, separation of embedded metals. That's the phrase I was looking for. What to do about all that. It's not super important because it is a rubber track machine, but basically it's like all other track machines, okay? If you got the track tension way too tight, you're going to wear stuff out in a hurry. You will wear out your sprocket, your idler, all your rollers, well, this doesn't have carrier, but if it did, you'd wear all that stuff out. And you'd also wear out your track really fast because it'd be just so much strain on it. But if you leave it too loose, you're also going to wear out all your undercarriage components prematurely. If you're going to wear out anything, especially on a rubber track machine, what you want to wear out is the track. The track is meant to be replaced. Obviously, the other stuff's meant to be replaced too, but of all the things on here that you could wear out and break, you want the track to take all the abuse, because that's going to be the easiest thing for you to go ahead and replace. Because if you replace any of this stuff, well, guess what? You got to take the track off. You may have to pull the entire undercarriage off of the side to get to the other, to get the other side to pull those rollers off. And that's just that's just a job nobody wants to do. So you get your track tension set right. On metal track machines, you're supposed to come in with like a bar in the middle. Well, at least the metal track machines that I have looked into, because they're all old, you're supposed to take like a pinch bar and put it in the middle and see how much you can pick it up, and that's how you see if there's too much slack in it or not. And you adjust it accordingly. On this, it's a little bit different. But track tension is important. The reason I tighten this up, not because I think I'm going to save the track and make it run for another 1,000 hours. It's obviously not going to. But we do a lot of dirt work with this machine. And when we turn, I've been noticing that track, how should I say this? What's supposed to happen is if everything's adjusted right, your undercarriage is supposed to come with your track. Okay? It's like if you got a shoe that fits your foot correctly, the shoe's not going to slide around on your foot all that much. If the shoe is sliding around on your foot a lot when you're walking and all that, your shoes are too big. And that's kind of what happens when your track gets loose, is that track is flopping around on your undercarriage components instead of your undercarriage and your track being more solid, so that when you turn, it's not jerking stuff around. And I hope I'm explaining this well. I don't know how else to say it. The shoe analogy is the best thing I can think of. It's like when your track gets loose, it's like if you're wearing a shoe that's too big. And you don't want that because it's just flopping around. And yeah, you can wear them, but it's like when you plant your foot and you go to put pressure on something and your feet are planted, but your shoes are a little big, so your feet slide inside of your shoes some. It's kind of like that. I mean, a little bit's okay, but if they're like super floppy, if you're meant for size 11s and you're wearing 13s, that's obviously a little big. And kind of the same thing applies to the tracks here. So tension is important. I have no clue if this is the right tension or not. But like I said, we'll run it and then just adjust it more if need be. It looks easier to add tension than to subtract tension. That's why I'm only starting out with 10 strokes on each side. That is definitely a huge improvement. I don't know what you would call them, the guides on the track. You can't call them rails because they're or links, because they're not necessarily the same thing, but I'm going to call them the guides. They're not scraping on the top of the undercarriage housing. They're not scraping here. I think that was already there. But what they would do is they'd get to flopping, especially at the higher speeds, and they'd start digging in here. You could hear them. And again, this is normal wear according to the book. But we want to be careful, because if you let this stuff go for too long, you're going to start wearing out your sprocket, and that looks expensive. You're going to start wearing out this rear idler, and that looks expensive, and your rollers. And Bobcat, in that regard, is a lot like John Deere in that they're overrated, and everything you buy that has their name on it is ridiculously freaking expensive. But despite all that, I mean, this machine's not running right, but if it was, it would be a pretty decent machine. I think it's got enough power. It's just hydrostat issues and other stuff. But we don't want to throw the track off. That's the point. I don't want to get off on a tangent. This is about tracks. These are the things that you need to think about when you're adjusting your track tension. You don't want to go crazy tight. You don't want it like a rubber band, but you don't want it like, I don't know, something that's the opposite of a taut rubber band. I'm doing a really bad job at this, but the point is that's where you adjust your track tension. That's what the book says to do and all this other crap. I'll try and remember where I found the damn manual, and I'll put a link to it if you want to go buy it, because it's a complete service manual for this machine. And I think that the T200 is related to the, I want to say the 863. The only difference is that this one's on tracks, I think. I'm not sure. Regardless, the service manual covers everything. And it was one of my better purchases. And I've used it quite a bit. Most of the stuff's not hard to work on. It's just when you go to make adjustments, they want you to do it a very special way. And it's the official dealer book too. So they're not going to mince words. They're not going to tell you, oh, you got to take it to your Bobcat dealer. No, this was meant for the Bobcat dealer. So there you go. I know I was all over the place. Still managed to drag this out for almost 12 minutes. That's awesome. But I hope that helped you guys out and gave you some food for thought when you're tightening this stuff up. And maybe if you're looking to pull your tracks off, that should give you at least a basic idea of what you're getting into. So anyway, I'm going to get back to work, and we'll see you guys in the next one.